is going on. To think we almost one day actually did things correctly when we started. I'm going to have to... Okay, we're muted on the actual mics right now. All right. A little behind the scenes on our live stream. That's always good, I think. People love a little bit of behind the scenes. So that's your... We'll wait to talk. We're pretty close. All right. How wonderful. This is great.
Wow.
Okay. All right. Let's do, hold on. All right. Mic check 1, 2. What do you got?
Hello?
Yeah.
Hello?
I have no way of telling if that's these mics picking up or if it's
picking up
some other mic picking up. So we'll find out at the end of this stream how good of a job we did.
Yeah, just a little experiment, just seeing what works.
Whew. All right. I am in the main screen. We don't need that. Let's swap that around. All right. So this is your DJ bike.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get you on camera first. I can name this guy.
What up?
All right. So what's your background riding first?
So I like to ride dirt jumps, and I like hitting big booters and real nice berms. I ride at Shepherd a little, but I'm not super big into trail riding, so I don't really have a trail bike. However, with Steelville opening, I kind of wanted more of a park bike. The DJ just wasn't really cutting it for out there, so decided to build this up. So I'm sure you've heard of Slopeduro. It's something that pretty much every pro rider is doing, like Cam McCall, Matt Jones. If you go to YouTube and type in Slopeduro, you'll see at least 24 pro mountain bikers with some sort of Slopeduro bike. It's pretty cool. So this is my take on that. It's a bit different than most. Most riders are going to use a enduro bike and then make it a little more slope styly. However, since I didn't have an enduro bike or a trail bike, but I did have a slope bike, I made it the other way around. So I put a longer fork, a 140 millimeter fork from my Marin with a 29er front end on my 26-inch frame. So quite a bit more travel, bigger wheel size, makes the front end a lot more slack. However, since it is still a dirt jump bike, the back end super slammed, so it's going to make it super playful, but also super stable with that slack front end. It's going to allow me to fly into berms, do pretty much whatever I want on it, and still stay stable. So,
dude, I have a really bad sneaking feeling our mics don't appear to be doing anything.
Uh-oh.
Let me pull this up on the...
So something about this bike that really makes it different than most Slopeduro bikes or most bikes in general is right here. I don't have a derailleur. It's just single speed, no chain tensioner, no fancy gears, no nothing. Super nice for going downhill. And it's nice for crashing because you don't mess anything up. But you really don't want to pedal with it.
All right, so our mics are picking up. I just checked I just pulled up YouTube on our own live stream. I was our only viewer for a moment there, so that was nice. We did have a viewer.
We had a live viewer moving up in the world.
It was me.
It was Adam, but we still had a viewer. We didn't have to tell him that. We chose to tell him that. So yeah.
All right, let's jump in closely on the bike. So if we're going to talk about this bike, this is a 2021 Radio Fiend.
Radio Siren.
Oh, it's a Siren. That's right. So Siren's the full suspension bike. Comes stock with a 100 mil fork and 100 mil rear suspension. Mm-hmm. You, however, took a 140 mil 29er off your Elroy and slapped it on that bad boy. When I jumped on it, I thought it felt really cool, actually, when I rode it, which surprised me. I didn't think I was going to like it at all. The front wheel was really heavy, obviously, because I think it's got a little bit bigger offset to it. So it's definitely lengthened the front of the bike. So, yeah, I wonder what to say about it, because I don't think anyone's ever ridden or experienced a bike that's going to feel like that.
Yeah.
So have you jumped it yet?
I have. I've taken it to a bunch of different places. So I've ridden it at skate parks. I've ridden it at the new Bluffview jump trails and flow trails. And I've also taken it down to Steelville Bike Park. I've ridden just a bit of everything on it. So I kind of got a good idea of how it reacts to stuff. And honestly, when I first built it, I had no idea if it would work or not. It was late at night. I had just broken the bike that the fork was on. Just kind of was playing around with some parts, so decided to throw it on, and it ended up working super well. I really had, as I said earlier, I had no idea whether it would work or not. I just kind of tried it out, and the first time I hit a jump on it, it was night and day. It was super nice.
How's it feel in the air? Is it more stable in the air because of that bigger front wheel up there? Or
so it's a bit heavier. You definitely feel the extra rotating mass in the front end. Since it's not a dirt jump fork, it's a little softer, so you get a little more compression there. But what you really feel in midair is the short rear end. The short rear end on a dirt jumper, it just allows you to whip the back end out and snap it right back straight in midair. It's going to make the bike feel super small and super playful and rowdy. Just like a normal dirt jumper. However, since the front end is so raked out, the front wheel so much farther in front of you than it usually is, that's going to make the bike super stable. I'm confident jumping it into rock gardens at high speeds, and it's just going to roll over everything.
Now, if you would have had a 27.5 bike with 140 mil fork, and if you would have had a spare 27.5 fork, would you have preferred to have that over?
I much rather would have put a 27.5 on here.
I think that does sound way cooler.
Yeah.
But you would still get some of the same effects,
Mm-hmm.
but it wouldn't flop around as much, I feel like.
Yeah, a lot of the pro riders at Rampage, like Jackson Riddle and Brandon Semenuk, they both rode 27.5 front, 26 in the back.
Really?
So that would have been a little better, but that's just not what I had laying around. This is what I had laying around, and I kind of made it work.
Sure.
So another thing, I already talked about the single speed. It's going to be a bit different than most trail bikes. So single speed in the back, and then also the suspension right here. Take a sec to look at it. It's a little weird.
Get a little bit closer.
It's a little weird. So as you can see, it's going to be a single pivot design. It's going to have a big pivot around the bottom bracket, and then the two shock mounts are going to move a little bit. But other than that, it's just going to have one pivot right here. What's that mean? So a single pivot design is the most basic full suspension design. It's really good for consistency and being linear. So when you have linkage on most bicycles, it's going to create some progression. So the initial hit is going to be super soft to take out trail chatter. However, when it gets farther into the stroke, it's going to get a lot stiffer, so you don't just bottom out through it.
You said stroke.
Oh, yeah. It's my specialty. So when you get into the dirt jump area, the dirt jump region with this straight single pivot suspension design, it's going to get a little different. So when you get through the stroke, it's going to stay very linear. It's going to stay very consistent. It's going to hit the same every time, and it's not going to compress and decompress oddly. For dirt jumping, for a single hit design, like for a big jump or a big landing, it's super nice, super consistent, so that when you land, it's going to do the same thing every time. The only downside is when I'm going through some rocks, the back end isn't going to react super predictably. It's going to have some issues, but that's, again, not really what the bike is meant for. I'm not riding Shepherd or Chubb or anything on it. So,
how's it going? Have you guys out with anything in particular? Cool. Sweet. We're streaming, so the camera's pointed this way. You don't have to worry about it and ask us any questions or anything. But just so you know, it is on the internet. All right, well, I think that's enough of that bike.
Yep.
That was less interesting than I thought it would be. Let me be honest with you.
Yeah. It's cool when you look at it, but then it's just kind of...
Yeah, it is neat looking. It does ride interesting. would you say if someone has a dirt jump bike, it's worthwhile put a 27.5 fork on it and go shred something?
No, not really.
Okay, so you recommend not doing this?
Yeah, and if you have a full suspension slope bike, maybe.
Okay.
But on a hardtail normal dirt jumper, definitely not.
Okay.
It's a fun experiment. Not sure how long it'll last though.
Sweet. Well, I think that's that. I'm trying to think of what I want to do as far as, so we have a couple things. I want to talk about the new one wheel, the Pine Axe. I think that's cool. We have those in store.
Mm-hmm.
We're waiting on GTs. We're not going to see those well until next year. The Pine Axe is basically an XR. So the only reason why we typically would talk people out of the Pine back in time was really just because the battery life wasn't there, especially for an adult. So when you can only get 6 to 8 miles on an electric skateboard, you're going to burn through that pretty quickly. So, we would always try to upgrade people to the XR, because even though a ride or your typical ride might only be 6 or 8 miles, the problem is once your battery starts getting that low, it becomes dangerous. You're going to have less power. And then also, you have range anxiety. And to be honest with you, I don't know if I want to talk about one wheels either tonight. I think an interesting thing we should talk about, because it's been coming up a lot lately, and I realize that it's probably on us. You can put that camera on you. Let's scoot it. I don't have much room to move it. Let's try to make sure we can get Linda and a bicycle. Oh, see, we're getting a little bit of fogginess off this camera. I moved so much. So you're a fairly new mountain biker, right? Because you technically, you ride a lot at bike parks or like ramp riders, indoor places. You like jumping.
So I got seriously into dirt jumping really seriously got into bikes and riding off-road about 3 years ago. I was super big into fixies and single speeds. In high school, growing up, I was into bikes a little bit, but never really raced or anything. And now, a couple years ago, I'm trying to think, about 2.5, 3 years ago, I started really getting into it. And then about 1.5 years ago, I started really, really getting into it. I worked as a bicycle messenger, so my job was to ride a bike all day long. That was pretty cool. And then just really got more and more into it. And then got into here.
Right. And you have a background in riding, you race dirt bikes, stuff like that. So, yeah, mountain biking makes sense to you. It's not like a foreign concept.
But it's also not something that I've been doing for a long time. I'm not super big.
When you started riding trail, did you know that there was all these unwritten rules that you were supposed to follow as a mountain biker?
So I knew a little bit. It was just kind of really just be nice to other people. I didn't really know proper trail etiquette or anything like that until I started getting more into it and started actually going on group rides with other people and kind of seeing how other people treated people on the trail.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's what it comes down to. I think a lot of people get butthurt out there for whatever the reason may be. I don't really care. But what it comes down to, when you're out riding your bike, you just need to be courteous to everyone. And that's really the only rule you need to know, is to be courteous. I think the other rule is that if you ride muddy trails, depending on where you live, that you're not being courteous because you're destroying things that people have to come and fix. So that is the only kind of really rule I think solid rule there is. It's hey, do no harm, which should be obvious. Anytime you go out in nature, you should leave it better than when you went out there. That's why if you're a mountain biker or hiker or you do anything in the outdoors, if you see trash out in the middle of the woods, no one walks by it. You pick it up and you stick it in your pocket. It's not your trash, but you're going to leave it better. And I think, riding trails the same way. It's, do we need to worry about who has the right of way? Do we need to worry about who if you're going uphill, if you have the right of way, or if you're going downhill, if you have the right of way.
Mm-hmm.
Does any of that really matter if we're just being courteous towards each other? Because I know for me, ever since I was riding, and I remember when I first started riding, I didn't know any of the rules. I didn't know that I was hurting the trail because I rode it when it was a little bit muddy. I've been mountain biking for 10 years. There wasn't, Gork does a really good job here locally now of kind of helping. But ultimately, and because I talked with a few people about kind of the issues on trails, and a lot of the guys who have been riding mountain bikes for years seem to be the loudest about it. I don't know why everybody's got to get butthurt about stuff that has nothing to do with them. And even like one of the things, and I definitely understand the feeling, is like when you're climbing, if somebody comes up behind you and passes you unexpectedly, it scares the daylights out of you. 100%. You don't expect somebody coming up. I don't care whether they're on an e-bike or an analog bike or whatever. It's scary. And there's people who get really butthurt about that. And it's pretty obvious if you're the faster rider, or if you're on an e-bike that can climb faster, a courteous person would know that, and they would know like, hey, that person's probably really going to work hard to have to make this climb. I'm going to hold back before I start up, or I'm going to, shift into some lower gears, keep my speed down, and give them time to accomplish their run. But, I don't know. I think all this is so hard because it's, if I'm climbing, I'll yield to somebody coming down if I see them. If I'm descending, I obviously will yield to them then. Anytime I can yield to somebody, that's always my default, is get the hell out of the way. I don't know. And if somebody doesn't, I don't take it as a personal insult. The only time I take personal insults out on the trail is when it's very obvious somebody is trying to be rude and hold the trail, and then causes you to have to swear. It's like we could have both just gave way a little bit, and then everybody could have moved on with their lives. And to be honest with you, the people who do all the complaining and that think they're better than everybody else and think they can tell everybody what they can do and where they can ride and whatever it is, it's the dudes wearing tight ass clothing. It's the Lycra wearing, cross country racing elitists who don't understand that they should be, instead of being upset with the new riders that are coming on because they don't know not to ride muddy trails, or they don't know they're supposed to get out of the way, people need to be able to just calm down about that, maybe.
Like, if you really want the problem to go away, the best way wouldn't be getting mad at people. It would be to politely let new riders know, hey, this isn't great, and here's why. Let other people know without being judgy, without being condescending. It can be difficult sometimes. We understand that, but just...
Right. And assume everybody's new. Assume if somebody does something, they don't know any better. The chances are anybody who decided it was a good idea to get out on a mountain bike and put on a bunch of gear and spend $1,000 plus on a bike, they're not bad people, probably.
Yeah.
They're probably good people, and they just don't know. So yeah, help them out. Try to figure out a way to say it nicely, because it can be weird out in the woods. But yeah, I don't know. Let's see if this customer needs help or anything.
How's it going today?
Good, yeah.
Pretty good. Can we help you with anything, or just looking around?
Haven't checked out this place yet.
For sure. Awesome.
Drove by 1,000 times. So I was like, oh, time
cool.
to make a lap through.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah, we're doing a live stream over here.
Oh, nice.
Just want to let you know, but feel free to interrupt and ask us any questions.
Cool. Thank you. What?
It says mic is muted, but it's when I did this whole thing is going to be like, I don't know why it says that up the top. It's definitely not muted. I'm pretty sure I listened to us talking a minute ago. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've seen it a lot because when I opened the shop, I wasn't a member of the bike community whatsoever. And in order to get progressive trails going and to get a park put in to serve as an inspiration for all the other parks we've seen pop up in the area, I was forced into being in the bike community and dealing with the elitists and dealing with the people who thought they were better than everybody else. And it sucked, man. It was absolutely horrible.
Definitely
the way I was treated.
Definitely made a few enemies along the way. And I mean, look at how the bike community has received the new trail system going up here. It's pretty cool how everyone's just super stoked on it. It's really cool to see what has become from the initial little thing going on here in your area.
Yeah, and I mean, and I hear people, like one of the people I was talking with today, somebody I have a lot of respect for, really cool person, and they were talking about how, and they come from, out west riding, very serious, legit rider, very cool and understanding person in general, but his theory is when he's climbing, he's not giving way. So if you're coming downhill at him and he's climbing, if you don't see him, I mean, I'm sure he has, he makes decisions based on each one, but he will not give right away. Or he won't give way. So if you're coming downhill and it's obvious that he's there, he's going to keep pumping up that trail. And if you come at him, he's going to throw an elbow into you and put you on the ground. I think people really have to be careful about their emotions when they're out riding their bikes. I think we see it a lot with road bikers, the screaming and yelling back at cars because cars do stupid, ignorant things that are unthoughtful. Particularly on mountain bike trails, when you're 3 miles into the woods, you have to be very careful on how you are treating people and how you're received, because that's not a place to make enemies for anybody. So sure. I think, that's really what it comes down to, is we shouldn't even have to talk about what the actual rules are. We shouldn't have to talk about any of that kind of stuff. I think mountain biking has just changed a lot, because I think 3 years ago, like when we would do group rides, we'd have new riders show up. We'd have people that didn't know what they were doing, and everybody was very encouraging and helpful and everything else. I think as this sport's grown a little bit, it seems like that's gone away. We've all kind of disconnected a little bit from each other. And instead of going on Facebook to in our local mountain bike Facebook groups to ask a question, people are more going on there to complain about others,
to publicly voice any grievances that they have.
And it happened to me last week. I mean, and I think one thing for people to consider is that, you don't know why, whether you don't know that if they're a new rider and they just don't know that they messed something up. You also don't know what, maybe physical limitations that people have. So when you decide that it's a good idea to go on a public forum and call somebody out and to threaten them with, having police bother them for going out on the trails, it's uncalled for. And it's just not how the bike community is supposed to be. I shouldn't feel that way. And I'm somebody who dedicated hundreds of thousands of dollars and thousands of hours and sacrificed a solid 2 years going to every single freaking bike event and every public meeting, shutting down my store, having nobody here to attend meetings. I put blood, sweat, and tears into the bike community and getting progressive trails done. And then I go out on my mountain board to ride one day and I got to deal with, somebody publicly trying to come after me for it. It's ridiculous. And I don't know who these people think they are. Like, just because you've been riding a mountain bike for 15 years and because you wear skin tight clothing and you race them doesn't give you any more right to a trail than me or anybody else. And that kind of crap has to stop.
The trails are multi-use. I mean, maybe they don't, they're for everyone. I mean, if someone's out there on the trail in a wheelchair, you're really going to bother them?
Yeah, or even if somebody's on an e-bike, we've got a customer that really awesome older guy. He's a retired pipe fitter. He's got lung conditions. He bought a hardtail mountain bike, rode it for a year, tried it every single day, basically. I mean, he was going to the gym. He was doing everything he could not get his lungs under him, just from all the years of breathing in all that stuff or whatever it may be. And so he eventually bought an e-bike. Now, he's not one of the guys that's going to be passing you going up a hill by any means. His e-bike, just barely gets him to be able to keep up with somebody else on the trail on an analog bike. But, that's one of the things. He rides an e-bike. With an e-bike, he doesn't get to get out there and enjoy it. Do I really care if that guy, let's say he did pass me on a climb? Who cares?
The only thing...
Are you not good enough rider to where somebody can't pass you and you keep going? Like, are you freaking kidding me? And the problem is the people crabbing about this crap are people who race mountain bikes. It's like you've never been passed on a climb. You're so mad. You have to go on the internet now and complain to everybody and start a big and make a bunch of people who ride e-bikes feel less than because somebody who didn't know good trail etiquette or didn't realize that it would startle you. Like, come on. Like, yeah, I'm startled, but I'm also not going to then go on the internet and try to call everybody on e-bikes out, you know, and try to make them feel unwelcome on the trail.
It's not targeted at e-bikes, and e-bikes get a lot of hate. I mean, if a fast rider had passed him on the climb on an analog bike, would it be the same argument? Probably not.
No,
but
absolutely not. Absolutely. It would be just as scary. And it does happen. There are people, like if I ride an e-bike, then I could keep up with really fast riders on an e-bike. You know, and that means I could, on an e-bike, then blow by everybody else who pedals as slowly as I typically do. So, like,
when our mechanic on his single speed, fully rigid mountain bike blows past someone on a climb on Zombie, I mean,
an e-bicycle mechanic on a rigid single speed bike
it's bound to hurt your feelings.
Is faster than
it's bound to hurt your ego and your feelings a little bit.
I think that's a bike mechanic thing for sure. Did you have any questions about any of the bikes or anything? Cool. Yeah. But yeah, that's it. I think it was a little bit personal to me because, you know, that was only about the third time I had been out to Bluffview. Like, typically we've been riding like the lowers along the river. We hit Cliff Cave. You know, we do stuff like that. That was the first time we went to Bluffview, and I was really stoked because it was smooth. It wasn't super chattery. So I have a traumatic brain injury. So it didn't hurt my head. That night when
that's a big thing,
I was up there and I probably did like 10 runs. There was literally no one else on that flow trail. The 2 hours there on Bluffview, brand new downhill trail that everybody's so stoked about. I was the only person to ride it the entire time, and there was 40 people there. Everybody was doing the jump line. But you know what I mean? Like, it's like like, why?
You weren't hurting anyone.
No,
you weren't
what's the
bugging
freaking
anyone.
problem?
I guess the argument would be that your electric board might tear up the trail a little more, but an aggressive rider with some chunky tires sliding through turns just at high speed, not even hitting their brake, which is what happens if you're a fast rider, you're going to tear up the trail way more than someone just cruising around on a skateboard. I mean, there's really no comparison.
And not to make it all about me, but then there was even a guy there's like, yeah, I've seen a guy do a 4-wheel burnout. It's like, dude, we were in St. Louis. There is no one in St. Louis that has a all-wheel drive electric mountain board. I will put $1,000 on. Well, I won't put $1,000 on it because there is somebody, I'm sure, in St. Louis, but they're nowhere near around here. And really, outside of me and my buddy, you know, we ride trampo boards. I don't sell trampo boards here. We do not sell the type of board that can comfortably ride mountain bike trails. We sell evolved boards here. An evolved board can kind of do it, but it's got no bindings. It's just not set up that great for it. My mountain board, I'm one of like 2 people in the Midwest that have one. Yeah. You know, and that was what pissed me off about that the most. And that guy, the person who made that post about me specifically or about electric skateboards or whatever, has been into my shop and he knows who the hell I am. You know, and that's...
It's not just some random person.
No. And dude, like, I opened this shop because I was passionate about mountain biking. I was passionate about mountain biking because I found it, you know, 10, 12 years ago, whatever it was at this point, you know, post a different or TBI that I had gotten that I didn't know about, but I was in a tough place in my life and I bought a mountain bike and it was an awesome release for me because I could go out in the woods and I could just get after it. And then after years of that, I didn't really ride with anybody. I went to one bike race. That was it. And then, you know, post that, the people I did meet in the bike community, everybody was super encouraging. And it was an awesome community of really cool people. So that's why I wanted to open a shop because I'm like, hey, like this took me from a very bad place in my life and gave me an opportunity to get where I am today. And it's because the people were good and it's because everything else. And I just, you know, I guess I'm in a unique position to see the other side of that. And, maybe not everybody's subjected to that, but like the big goal of my shop too. And, I think our about page maybe still be the same. It attacked Lycra riders for obvious reasons because of crap like this. This is what they do. This is why we don't sell Lycra in my shop. We don't have one bit of Lycra. We have some underbibs from Fox, but that's the closest thing. But and that was the thing that pissed me off, is that everybody seemed like they were cliquey and everybody seemed elitist and everybody seemed whatever. In my shop, I wanted it to be a place that was open for everybody. That if you were a new rider, it did not matter. Because I would walk into bike shops in St. Louis, every single damn one of them, after riding mountain bikes for 5 years, I'd walk in and people would treat me like crap, not knowing who I am before I did any of this trail crap, before I was anybody, or before I started doing anything in the bike community. I'll walk in and they just don't talk to you. It's just this snotty attitude. I rode an $1,800 full suspension bike that I was slowly upgrading because I didn't have $4,000 to spend on a bike, but I knew my shit. I knew what was going on. I knew how to ride. I rode every single day of my life for 8 years until I opened the shop. And then I always just felt like I wasn't treated right when I went into shop. And it's that same, it's the attitude like that, the idiot who went on Facebook to crap about my electric board, or the Nancy dude that went on to complain about somebody on an e-bike blowing by him as if it's some like serious major issue in his life. The 2 seconds some guy blew by him on a freaking mountain bike trail. It's like, you're on a toy, dude. Like, seriously, you're going to get pissed off and butthurt enough to where you got to wait 3 days. And the guy even specifically said it. I posted plenty of things or said plenty of things kind of in the heat of the moment. And then you look back and you're like, yeah, maybe that wasn't great or whatever. And then you delete it or whatever. But no, this guy waited 3 days to then complain about it. It's like, what are you doing?
Why not say something to him on the trail?
Or why not just not say anything?
Yeah, that too. There's so many.
How often is it going to come up?
There's so many different ways that it could have been addressed other than on a public forum that everyone in the community is on. It's just...
Yeah, because you don't know who you're going to make feel bad. And it happened a few months ago too. There was a couple who just got into mountain biking. They just purchased mountain bikes. They were avid hikers and everything else. They went to West Tyson Park. They parked down on the lowers. They saw something weird. They thought that somebody was like looking at them from across the river with binoculars. And then there was some sort of truck on the railroad tracks. A bunch of goofiness. Who knows what was going on? Bunch of weird coincidences? Maybe. So this couple, they go on our local Facebook mountain bikers group page, which most people who ride mountain bikes, if they're on Facebook, they follow that group. Gets brought up to me all the time when things happen in Facebook. Everybody sees it. And they start cracking on these people, calling them crazy.
You want to know something funny? At Castlewood State Park, the park rangers there will scan the bluff lines with binoculars looking for kids
smoking dope. Yeah, and
there are people watching. It's not malicious. They're keeping.
Well, in this conversation very quickly, it was just on there. And basically the people were saying like, hey, here are the things we observed. It freaked us out today when we were down at Tyson. Just wanted to give everybody a heads up that maybe there's some weirdness going on and to keep an eye on yourself. That was it. There was no other motive for this couple other than that. And then what does the community do? They start going after them. They start saying, well, why don't you carry a gun on you? And then it turns into a whole gun conversation. And then everybody's talking about, and then, and again, people I respect are sitting there, these strangers, they don't know it all. They're sitting there talking about like, oh, let's schedule a group ride and we'll have it be 100, like whatever this nonsense. Just a bunch of people did. I'm like, what are you guys doing? Like these people, what do you think the purpose of their post was? And then they end up getting kicked out of the group. The people who made the original post for defending themselves. And they're like, hey, like, I was just trying to be helpful. Like, we're new mountain bikers. We thought you guys would want to know this kind of thing, blah, 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 blah. And, because I talked to the guy afterwards and they got kicked out of the group. And then it was.
Moral of the story, just go out and ride your bike. Don't go on social media and
don't talk shit.
Moan.
Like, what's the point?
Just go ride. Go have fun. Mountain bikes are supposed to take stress away from your life, not add stress. So it's not worth getting worked up over.
It sucks. It alienates those people. And it's the same thing like bitching about these e-bikers. I don't give a shit whether somebody needs to be on an e-bike or whether you think they need to be on an e-bike or whatever the hell.
Whether they want to be on it.
The only thing I care about is that they're not sitting at home in their house depressed.
Mm-hmm.
Don't care.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if you think they're getting enough exercise. I don't care if you think you're better because you're analog pedaling and they're cheating or whatever the F you want to call it. The fact of the matter is they're not on their couch and they're outside and they're exploring the world and they're getting fresh air and they're bettering their lives. Why anybody's saying anything about that's beyond me. If I didn't own a bike shop, do you think there would be a chance I'd be in a Facebook group making negative comments about people I don't know? I have to go in there and I have to pay attention. I have to talk and I have to, do all these things. If I didn't own a shop, I wouldn't care. None of my damn business. Why anybody's making negative comments about other people that they see on the trail is beyond me. I'm really sick of it. And I'm sick of being nice about it. And I'm sick of these people who do that crap, talking crap behind people's backs, talking crap on public forums, doing whatever, kicking people out of groups because they're not part of their little group and then coming in here and smiling to me like they're my friend. It's insane.
That's the funny part.
It's insane.
That's the funny part.
I grew up in South City. I didn't grow up out in the county. I wasn't no rich kid. You know what I mean? Like, we grew up riding BMX bikes, on Hampton Avenue. Like, we weren't in trails, and it's not even about that. It's just simply about why the F why do I have to be mad that is anybody putting on Facebook what the hell I do on a Thursday night? Why does it matter? Did I hurt anybody? Did the e-bike guy really hurt anybody? No, he scared you. Oh my goodness. Now you've got to have 15 other guys who are at home thinking, oh, great. I just invested $5,000 in this e-bike so I could go outside and enjoy sport, and half the people who look at me out there think I'm a douchebag.
Mm-hmm. Just getting stereotyped. It's not cool, man. It's not cool. Just let everyone go out there and enjoy it. I don't know. What's the saying? If you're catching flack, you're over target. So
if you're catching flack, you're what?
You're over target.
Okay.
Like if you got some haters, you're doing something right.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. And I think just to circle back around to the electric skateboard thing, because that really pissed me off that some old person in skin tight clothing decided to go to the internet and post something instead of letting me know about the Rangers when he was there and saw me, because that's the way to handle that. If you don't, and the big problem I have is that the reason why we sell one wheels, the reason why we sell electric skateboards is because the skaters, the electric boarders are the same exact people as the mountain bikers. Mm-hmm. Same experience. And my mountain board, I can guarantee you, I don't care how fast you are on a mountain bike or how strong you think you are or whatever else. Good luck getting on my mountain board and riding a mountain bike trail. Mm-hmm. It ain't gonna happen. Mm-hmm. But the electric, I don't know, I just got mad again about that. The electric skateboard people are the same people. So and to be fair, I should stick up for everybody in that group. I have seen a change in when people do stuff like that or make posts like that in the last year or so. It does seem that people are kind of sick of it too. I'm not the only one who's sick of it. And they're standing up and saying like, what are you doing? It's none of your business. It's whatever. And that's what, on the comment when the guy crabbing about me being at Bluffview, and the most ironic thing that pissed me off about the Bluffview post is, I was on a mountain bike only directional trail. Mm-hmm. That downhill trail is directional only. Mm-hmm. When I pitched having the city pay for mountain bike trails, this is before Gork Gravity was even close to being a thing. This was before the city had approved my $100,000 budget. Mm-hmm. We were sitting in a meeting. They were crabbing about e-bikes actually at a Gork meeting. They were, started running into somebody, and that's when it kind of flipped for me and pissed me off, because I know plenty of people that have to ride e-bikes in order to be able to get out there and enjoy themselves. But the how do I say this without being very specific about somebody? When I said that, yeah, we just got to go out and get the $100,000 to get it done. The person who's probably most responsible for the downhill trail at Bluffview laughed in my face and said in the whole meeting, Now, mind you, I've been showing up to their trail building meetings for over 4 years at that point, well before I opened the shop, laughed at me out loud in front of everyone to tell me that we don't have the Waltons here. Good luck getting that money. And guess what? 2 months later, I had it in the budget, and then Gork Gravity got formed, and they were able to help us get even more. And then now there's millions of dollars in flow trails. But the point of the matter being is that without the work I did years before, they'd still be laughing about putting in mountain bike specific trails at Bluffview. And then for me to be the third time I'm out there and I'm finally getting back out in the woods and stuff, to have one of those people from that organization try to call me out publicly for a trail that wouldn't even exist if it wasn't for me. I had nothing to do with Bluffview itself. I'm not saying that. I'm saying without me getting a city and municipal funds being spent by Eureka, and Eureka set an example with the skills park there, what the city of Wildwood would have never effing agreed to put a downhill trail in, and they know it. So I had nothing to do with any of the work that they did. Those guys then put in a ton of work in order to make that happen and raise their money and do all that stuff, which is awesome. But the fact of the matter is that would not be a possibility if it wasn't for me. And to sit there and go in a public forum and try to shame me is beyond anything. Because it's just turned into a stream of me yelling at people about not yelling at people.
You know, one of those videos of like some guy getting mad, just sitting in his truck ranting. That's you just in your shop.
We're gonna have to delete this whole thing, dude. It's not gonna be good. But yeah, it was pretty mind blowing to me, and because that was one of the first times I went out publicly again. You know, I've kind of been in the shadows for the last year and a half, and you know that's why. Because every time I pop out, it happens, and I don't know why it's so hard for everybody to realize why I was so in the public, why I was so stressed out for 2 years. It's like you have no freaking idea how much money, how much stuff I had to give away, how many times I had to close the store, how many. It's amazing how everybody's like a Johnny come lately now. But when I opened the shop, everybody told me it wouldn't work. When I said I was going to build a mountain bike specific bike park, everybody said it was impossible. These things only all became possible because of the blood, sweat, and tears that took it to get there. And nobody knows that. Nobody knows the first year and a half before all these trails started getting approved, what really made all that stuff happen. And without it, it's not a conversation. I mean, these guys weren't showing. Like I said, I was going to Gork meetings for 2 years before the shop opened. I opened the shop because they told me that we couldn't get more progressive trails. I'm like, well, we can't get kids to start riding if we don't have more progressive trails. They said, well, it's not going to happen. I said, well, it's because you're going in the wrong way. Like, you're going in asking for stuff. If you want cities to listen to you, generate generate sales tax dollars, then go to the city and say, here's how you get more sales tax dollars. And that's exactly what the FI did. I invested $250,000 to open this shop called the Mountain Bike Shed. Why the hell does anybody think I called the Mountain Bike Shed? Stupid freaking name in the middle of Missouri. You know why I did it? Because nobody knew what the hell mountain biking was. We had no damn respect. You know, Gork had done plenty of building trails for the last 20 years and amazing trails. And that's why I fell in love with it and why everybody else gets to fall in love with it. But the fact of the matter is that's where it was going to stay. And before I came along, there was no chance of that changing. I don't give a shit. People can be mad at me for saying that all they want, but it's true. I mean, it's a dead honest truth.
Up until
I went to every meeting. I was at every meeting. I'm the only MFer that was at every meeting. None of those Gork Gravity guys were at every meeting. They started showing up to meetings after I got approval from Eureka. That was after the fact because we had some other idiot call us in trouble and whatever else. And then I had to go to everybody and be like, will you guys please come to a meeting? They knew all those guys and were friends with them, but they didn't go to meetings. I can tell you for 2 years previous to Gork Gravity, I went to every single meeting for 2 years previous to Gork Gravity getting launched. And none of the guys from Gork Gravity were at any of those meetings. There was only one, and he came once and Gork shamed him out of the room. I remember it was a couple months after I joined Gork. He had just, and it was the guy I was talking about earlier, actually, with the uphill story, but he had just moved from Bend, Oregon. He had been a trail builder. He came and he started talking. I was like, holy crap. I was like, this guy is talking about some progressive stuff. He might really be able to take us to the next level. And then they basically, again, just shamed him to never show back up to another Gork meeting until all the Gork Gravity stuff, and we got all that launched. But yeah, I mean, it's just mind-blowing to me. And when it comes to electric skateboards, who gives a goddamn crap? I don't care what I'm riding. As long as it's not loud. It doesn't get a gas motor on
It's
it.
not like you're riding a dirt bike out there.
No. And I cannot go. I'm about half the speed on my electric skateboard than a bicycle of any kind, analog or electric. How long have I been yelling? 45 minutes. We got 15 more minutes of me yelling about
What do you want to talk
people
about
being
now?
nice on the trails. I don't know. Have you had anybody ever? So you ride a lot of different places. You ride here. You go to Windrock often. You're down in Bentonville all the time. You go up to Brown County. You were just out in Trussell. So have you ever experienced anybody giving you any attitude on the trail because you get super steezy, or has it just been?
I've never really run into anything too bad. Trying to think. I mean, most of the time everyone's super friendly. Everyone's just kind of out there to do their own thing. Like, I cannot think of one time where I've gone to like a trail where people are kind of gathering and hanging out and like really had a bad experience. It's just
Right. Yeah, no, I've never had it. And dude,
Sedona is very anti-e-bike, but they are very there's a lot of Lycra out there, a lot of cross-country guys. So
yeah, dude, and that was the worst thing about Thursday or when that guy made that post about me being up there, because that was like the first time. I normally will go pretty late in the evening. Like the previous times I'd went and rode at Bluffview, I was doing it at like 4:30, like right before the sun came down and stuff. So almost everybody was gone. That was the first time I'd been in a mountain bike trail in a very long time. That I got there about 4 o'clock, or no, it was before 4 o'clock. I got there like 2 on a weekday, and the place was packed. There was like 40 people there, a ton of people I knew. It was so awesome, and that was the first time, especially because I haven't been able to ride a mountain bike in a year. That was the first time I'd been around an event again, or not even an event. That's the first time I'd been at a trailhead when there was a ton of people in one area. And it was just really awesome. And like everybody was hanging out. Everybody was super nice. No one gave me any shit about being on an electric board. People were curious about it. I even, buddy that was up there, let me jump on his bike and do a rundown, which I did a run on a bike. And because a lot of people, I think like, oh, you can ride an electric mountain board, but you can't ride a bicycle. Like, what? That doesn't make any sense. And it has to do with my heart rate and stuff like that. I just can't do it. But I rode down on it. By the time I made it back up to the top, I was dizzy and tripping over stuff. It's like, if I would be on a mountain bike and doing that out on the trail, I would immediately clip a rock and then be right back down on my head, and I may never get back up again. So on the mountain board, I don't have my heart rate spiking as much, so it doesn't make my head light, and then I'm able to stay focused and keep riding safely. On a bike, my brain steals all my powers away from me, and then I just trip over things and get hurt. But no, that's what upset me, because I went there and there were so many cool people and everybody was talking and hanging out and smiling and a good time. And then I get on Facebook later that night and it's like, oh, okay, well, there goes. I thought I had a really good time and like felt good vibes and stuff. And then this guy, for no reason, I wasn't even on the same damn trail as him, decided you want to get on and then be passive aggressive and be like, oh, just so you know this and that. It's like, okay, just so I know. Why don't you just say what the F you mean, man? Why don't you say, hey, Adam, you were riding your electric mountain board at Bluffview. I let the county or the park rangers know to keep an eye out for you because they're going to ticket you because I don't think that's allowed or whatever. He didn't say that, though. It was just passive aggressive. Do what you want with it. Just so you know. It's like, no, just so you know, it's not illegal for me to be on my electric mountain board out there.
Do you want me to get a doctor's note?
I have a doctor's note. Like, that's the thing. And anybody get a doctor's note. What, now everybody who rides an e-bike has to go to their doctor and be like, hey, I like to go out in the woods to kind of clear my brain and, make me for my mental health. It's really good for me to do. My knee hurts though if I ride my bike for too long and then I'm limping at work the next day. I can't do that. So I bought an e-bike and now I don't limp anymore when I go to work the next day. So I'm able to ride my bike on the weekend and get my release. So now guys gotta go to the doctor and try to explain that so that the doctor can write them a note, or so a doctor can give them a handicap placard so that the county doesn't mess with them. Like, good luck. And good luck to a park ranger if you walk up on me and try to crab about me on an electric mountain board, or if I see him do it to anybody else. You know, we should be standing up for each other. We should be like, it wasn't that long ago mountain bikers weren't allowed on trails either. It wasn't that long ago snowboarders weren't allowed on ski hills. You know, there's plenty of things that plenty of people who weren't allowed on, and guess what? They weren't hurting anybody. Snowboarders didn't hurt anybody. Mountain bikers didn't hurt anybody. Nobody hurt anybody. Electric skateboarders aren't going to hurt anybody. One-wheelers aren't going to hurt anybody. E-bikes aren't going to hurt anybody. I don't know what the next trend will be, but it's not going to hurt anybody.
Hoverboards
Won't hurt anybody. Some sort of personal helicopter situation. But yeah, I just, you know, I don't know, man. I think I'm not, I woke up from a nap right before we did this live stream. I think I'm just crappy. We may have to delete this. I may have gone too hard in the paint.
It'd be cool to do a bike check on this, like at an actual bike park.
It's got to be in the area. Oh, I did get an Insta360. So there will be some pretty cool footage coming soon. Yeah, so I guess that's it. Let's not have me just yell at everybody because I think that already ruined it. We do have some exciting new things happening. We are trying to do, I think I'm going to be on vacation next week. I'm going to Bentonville, so I'm going to shoot some video of me riding at different places around Missouri. And then we're going to set up our media room behind the black curtain there. So we'll start doing some product reviews and stuff like that from the green screen, a little more focused outside of these live streams. We'll have the Insta360, so hopefully that'll come up with some cool video so we can get some more riding stuff on the channel. Mustache always makes cool videos, so we got to get him start uploading those on our YouTube. That's it. I mean, I'm really excited about the new Insta360 One X2
Ultimate.
I like that it has a bunch of different describers. I feel like Japanese car companies did that for a long time, and that was always a good sign. So I like Insta360 One X2. They could have eliminated 2 words out of there and still had a product.
It's the Ultimate, not the Select Plus. So you know it's good.
Oh, I got the Ultimate kit, yeah, because I wanted the fisheye lens and the disappearing stick. We're going to see if this was a good idea or not. I watched a lot of YouTube review videos.
Let's do a product review. New GoPro versus new Insta360.
Oh, you got it. You got a 10, right?
Yep, the new GoPro 10. You have the new Insta360.
Mine's going to be better because I can hold it out away from me and the stick's going to disappear. Automatically, that makes it better.
Yeah.
The question is, will it make everybody nauseous watching that?
How much did you pay for yours?
I don't know.
I paid, what was that, $450 for the GoPro?
I think I paid less than that because I did a Black Friday special.
Because I was looking at them, and the Insta360s were significantly less expensive than the GoPro.
Yeah, I think that's why I never considered one originally. But for me, since the main goal is really to record board sports, then I think the Insta360 was the best bet because it's got the stick. It's very natural how it'll flow out.
I saw a guy yesterday. He had on Instagram. He had a bunch of videos with the Insta360, and it looked amazing. Like I could not. He was doing what I was trying to replicate with the GoPro, and I realized that the GoPro just could never do what it was doing.
I wonder how much time it's going to take to edit together all those videos and stuff.
Oh, it even comes with pedal washers, but not pedals.
All right. Well, we should probably end this stream so I can listen back to it real quickly and see if I need to delete it before I piss off too many people.
Nah, you didn't piss anyone off.
Fortunately, I'm a dirtball, and the more people I can piss off, the happier I am.